Jerry Norton here. On today's video, I'm going to share an interview with honorary Flipping Genius Club member Jason Crask from a small town in Kentucky. Jason started watching my YouTube channel and joined my program, and in his first 6 months using a little known technique, Jason found and flipped his first 3 deals. Wait until you see how he's finding deals in a small rural town in Kentucky. Now, Jason has been able to quit his job and currently has 2 more deals under contract. Now, there are some really awesome nuggets in this interview, but before we cut to the interview, 2 things I want to mention. First, like Jason, I want to recognize your success, so I started what I call the Flipping Genius Club. Here's how it works. If you have closed a deal using one of my software tools, training programs, or something you learned from one of my YouTube videos, then go to flippinggeniusclub.com where you can fill out a simple form to share with me about your deal. If accepted, I'll send you a plaque in the mail that looks like this with your name on it, making you an official member of my Flipping Genius Club. Plus, you get a chance to appear on my YouTube channel to discuss your deal. Now, the second thing is, this interview is just a clip from a private live Zoom call I do with members of my Fast Track coaching program, where you get to learn, participate, ask questions, and get coaching live every single week with me. In addition to that, my Fast Trackers get one-on-one coaching and spend 2 days live with me in Puerto Rico. Joining my Fast Track program is by application and interview only, and spots are limited, so if you're really serious about building a 6-figure and even 7-figure business, my Fast Track program might be exactly what you need. To apply, go to fasttrackwithjerry.com. All right, do me a favor and show Jason some love after watching this video. If you're inspired by his success, leave a comment and say, "Congrats, Jason, on crushing your first 3 deals. You are a flipping genius." And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to my channel. With almost 800 videos, this is the #1 channel on YouTube for all things flipping. All right, let's cut to the interview.
I'm very excited to be here, and that's what I wanted to say. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. Any knowledge I can gain from all you guys, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Great. So, Jason, you're in the Kentucky market, right?
Yes, sir. Frankfort, Kentucky is where I live.
The deal that you're going to be sharing about and that we're going to talk about is a flip, right? It was a deal that you bought for $22,500, spent $7,500 on the rehab, and then sold it this past summer for $70,000. So guys, this is what you can do if you got really good margins, even on lower priced homes, with a $40,000 profit. Is that about right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the numbers are right. I found the guy driving for dollars. I saw he had a lot of furniture and everything set out. He had it as a rental. It was a elderly investor. He had a lot of furniture sitting out by the road. So of course I'm writing his number, that address down, and I come home and I've got a whole list of people, and I've got one star that I'm really interested in. That was one of them. So I skip traced him and found his phone number and called anybody I can call. I try to call, and then I'll send mail also. But I skip traced him, found his phone number. I asked him if he was interested in selling, and he just immediately said yes. So he said, yeah, he was really interested. He was tired of the turnover and the tenants and everything. So he had told me before, I had made him an offer for $20,000, I believe I offered him first, and he countered with $32,000, and I came up to $22,500, and he ended up taking that. So I bought it for $22,500. Here's the closing statement right here.
Oh, okay, $22,500.
That was April 16th. I sold it May 5th for $70,000.
$70,000, yeah. How did you fix it and flip it and close so fast? What is that, a month? You did the whole thing, rehab and sell, in a month?
About 3 weeks. The day we closed on it, I had a couple friends lined up, myself, my wife, some in-laws. I had everybody lined up, and we jumped in and gave this thing all new lighting fixtures, plumbing fixtures, which I knew going in. I had several people look at it, first of all, before I closed on it. I had an inspection done on it, the structural engineer, so I kind of had a list of everything I wanted to get straight in and do, and I just spent that next couple weeks while we were waiting to close planning on every single detail that I needed to do. So that way, the day of closing, like, we went straight from the bank, from closing, or from my attorney's office, straight over there and started working. And we worked on it for probably 10 or 12 hours because I didn't have the money that I used to buy it. I pulled out of my 401k account and I just bought it. So I'm like, I've got to make this work. You know what I mean? I'm jumping off the cliff. It's fly or fall. And I pulled 30,000 out and bought it, and that's what we ended up putting, about 7,500 in it. I paid my friends that helped with all the paint, new paint through everything, and like I said, lighting and plumbing fixtures. We replaced the interior doors. Everything else we deep cleaned, just really deep cleaned, and about 3 weeks later, we had it all done. And, you know, I redid the gutters, made it a little bit better curb appeal. We painted the front porch. I got a mason to redo the brick on the front porch. Yeah, we put it up for sale 3 weeks later, and I listed it on Zillow for sale by owner, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. Within 12 hours, I had shown it probably 8 times, but the very first guy that walked back in that afternoon with a contract in his hand, and we had come to an agreement for $70,000.
So you did a 3-week rehab, recruited everybody you knew. You went in there, did a quick facelift. You did doors, some lighting fixtures, but 7,500, that doesn't go very far. So enough to get this thing a facelift. Now, when you put it up by owner and obviously you had it priced right, probably a low inventory situation, right? Because the summer it was bananas. Got an offer, but this could not have been FHA. So how did you close it so fast? Because FHA has an anti-flipping rule. So I'm curious how you did that.
The guy that bought it he was a member of the credit union for about 50 years. And he literally just went to the credit union, told him he needed $70,000 to buy this house. And it was as good as cash. He was ready to close it. Didn't even take a week.
Wow. So closed it cash, basically. Jason, that is really exciting. I mean, you're clearing $40,000 on a fix and flip. And what I want to talk about this is, you know, a lot of times when we get started, we think, well, wholesaling is where I should start. It's where I should focus. I should get a handful of deals under my belt. And then what happens is you get kind of good at wholesaling, and very easily you can kind of put blinders on where you create a really good, well-oiled wholesaling business model. But what's happening then is there may be some fantastic deals that you're letting go that you could be fixing and flipping. And in my opinion, a 40K profit on a fairly easy fix and flip, you know, if you can turn that thing around in a couple of weeks like yours and make 40 instead of maybe 5 or 7 or even 10 on a wholesale, that makes a whole lot more sense. That would take 4 wholesales for 1 fix and flip if that were the case. So why fix and flip? I'm curious, you know, you're brand new, you're getting going. Was it because you just saw the numbers and the spreads and you thought, man, I can just quickly flip this thing? Or what was your thought process to fix and flip instead of wholesale?
Well, that's exactly what you just said. Every deal I get, I kind of look at it and figure out what will be the best time-wise and money-wise. And even though I was brand new, I had watched enough of your videos, and I was actually a 10K member, and we got the deal analyzer and everything on there. So after running the comparables in that area, I realized if I just held on to it and did the very light cosmetic rehab that it was, that I would end up coming out way further ahead than if I tried to wholesale it at a good price, or for some reason I had it in my head that I was gonna make a lot more money than if I tried to wholesale it. I didn't want to give it away for 10 grand when I could easily just hold it for what in my head was gonna be a couple weeks and make, you know, quadruple that. So
it's pretty cool to see what $7,500, how that can transform a $22,500 buy into a $70,000. And what's really amazing is sometimes it doesn't take much, right? It takes cleaning the thing out, doing a handful of things, getting good pictures, and then putting that thing back out to the retail market, and you can make these giant spreads. The genius in this business is finding that sweet spot, like, okay, how do I not over renovate? How do I not give it away as a wholesale? Where, of all the different things I can do, what is the best return for the time, energy, and effort and capital to get a return on a deal? And when we go into deals with that mindset, that really can be a game changer for how we do this business. So I want everybody to be thinking that. Don't just have blinders on and think, you know, I need a cash buyer, I got to follow this specific formula, and that's it. That's not it. There's lots of different ways to be involved in the deal that still fall under flipping, but can really maximize your profits. I mean, your example, your deal is a phenomenal example. So it really comes down to putting deals together, being creative, thinking outside the box. The biggest thing that I look at, guys, with every deal, and you really want to get to this point, is what's the opportunity cost? And that's actually the most important question of all, because if you tie yourself up, your bandwidth on, A, then you're not tying it up on this other thing, which could be a lot better. What is the better that I could be tying up capital, could be tying up resources, team, my energy, my effort, my capital into a deal? It better be worth it. Having that as a gauge is like the best way to look at these deals. A lot of times we put a lot of effort into a low margin deal, and it's just not worth it. It doesn't matter if it makes 20,000 if it's going to take a ton of time. So you've got a couple wholesale deals since that one. That was this summer. You've wholesaled a couple wholesale deals, and I think you've got what, 3 or 4 flips going on too. So tell us what's happened since this deal.
Pretty much over doubled my money after that very first one. I left my job completely. I started doing this full time. I got another deal that I bought right after that I was in contract with for $49,500.
There it is.
I ended up putting about $40,000 in it, which brought me to close to $90,000. I really liked this property, and I refinanced it for $118,000.
You said you refinanced it for $118,000?
Yes. And so I put about 28 grand in my pocket, and I get about $600 a month cash flow from it every month. I've got really good tenants. Forgot to even mention that part. So I had 90,000 in it, and it appraised for 158,000.
158, which meant they did a loan to value and gave you 118. So this is kind of cool here, guys. So, a lot of times we think, well, if I do a deal and I keep it, then that's great. I'll create some cash flow, but I miss out on the big profit from a flip, which is nice to get that big paycheck. Well, you kind of did both. You created a ton of equity by buying low enough and putting in the repairs. So you built in this equity by doing a value add, pulled out whatever you pulled out, 20,000, right? And then kept it. And now you're cash flowing as a rental about $600 a month, right? Is that about right?
Right. After everything, that's after all the taxes, insurance, mortgage, and I'm setting aside about 150 for repairs and whatnot. But yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
Awesome. Okay, now your next deal. Tell us about the next one.
All right, so the next one is it was in Lawrenceburg, just right down the road from me. I ended up buying it. I got a call back from this one through mailings that I sent. It was a guy that his mom had passed away, and he just kind of inherited the house. I bought it for
$85,000
right here. I bought that one for $85,000. I put 40 grand into that one as well, so that maybe I was at about 125. This one actually I'm closing on the 29th of this month for
170. 170. So what do you think you'll net out on that one?
It'll be about 45 grand. Minus whatever I got to pay at closing. So at least 40 grand, I would say.
Okay. Fun, man.
So, I mean, I'm really happy about it.
So the first one was driving for dollars. The second one you did with direct mail. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Actually, the second and the third one I did with direct mail.
So on the direct mail, briefly share with everybody what that took to get those 2 deals. How many mailings? What'd you spend? What was that process like?
So when I was sending out mail, I would try to find about at least 100 houses per week on a list. I would go driving around, and I would do it all in one drive. I would spend 2 or 3 hours driving around where I'd get 100 houses. That was my own list of, just distressed homes in my area. And I would send out mail, and I have a big marketing campaigns where I would add the new 100 into my old list, and it kept growing. Right now I've got to think about 2,000 properties that I send mail out to. I spend about $1,000 a month with my marketing budget. It's like 55 cents, I think, for a piece of mail. So that's all I did. Here's what it is. Nothing special. This was some of my return mail.
Yep. Perfect. Ugly. Ugly is better.
Yeah, ugly, just yellow, catch your attention. But I'll tell you what I've found to be so much more helpful than actually the mail you send out is the return mail you get back. That return mail you get back, if you put a little time into researching those people and try to find out how to get a hold of those people, very few people talking to those people because nobody wants to put in the time to.
Hope you guys caught that. That's a golden nugget right there. So when you drive for dollars, you're creating a custom list. That list is not anywhere else. There may be some overlap where those people are on another list, but that is the most valuable list you could acquire because you found that list on your own, and those people are probably not being marketed by anybody else. So that list is a very valuable list. One idea, Jason, would be to leverage the driving for dollars strategy and get a lot of other people so you're not doing it so much. As you scale, you'll want to do that because it's a time thing, right? But the idea here is Jason created this custom list from D4D, and then with that list, he's doing, I imagine you're doing multiple things because you're skip tracing it, so you're probably calling it, and your direct mail. So the idea here is you're going to try to touch those people in as many different ways as you can. And what's awesome is because the list is so custom, it doesn't need to be 10,000, it can be 1,000, and you can pull some deals out of that. So your cost goes way down as far as marketing because now you're mailing to a list of 1,000, but they're warm custom lists, not 10,000 on a bot list, right? Where it's super cold traffic. And then what you're doing is you're taking it a step further. And when you get return mail, which means now they never got it, I always have just thrown that away, which comes to like 10 or 15% of your mailings. That's a cool technique, Jason, to actually put in another bit of effort, track those people down and see what the heck's going on. And what do you find that generally speaking, who are those people that are getting return mail?
Most of the time it's people in a pretty distressed life position. But if you get a hold of them, any little bit of money that they can get from the deal, they're motivated, pretty happy to take.
If you guys aren't doing that, that's a fantastic strategy. I think we're going to implement that as well because we do quite a bit of direct mail. Any questions for Jason here? I'm going to go through the chat, but if you've got a question for Jason.
So one thing I want to say is like you're at an advantage to like someone like me who is physically in Salt Lake City, Utah, where there's thousands of investors who are putting money, spending $30,000 to $50,000 a month in marketing. I would just assume from the location I'm looking on the map, like there's probably not that much competition as that I would face or Jerry would face. So, I mean, you guys have to understand that we get a lot of deals from our nationwide campaigns in like Huntsville, Alabama, Columbus, South Carolina, or North Carolina. I can't remember. There's just smaller areas where people, they're not getting bombarded by marketing. So it's pretty, you got a good setup, We've even actually targeted smaller markets like this with mailing, cold calling, and we get way better responses than, Utah, where they're like, hey, this is the 10th call I've gotten today. Don't talk to me. So I just want to point that out for everyone on here. It's good. You got a good spot, especially if you're buying there yourself. You got the pick of the litter, dude.
Everybody kind of knows everybody around here. So now I'm like the guy that buys houses.
Yeah.
So when people are in trouble and they need to sell their house, I literally just got word of mouth. People calling me now to see if I can do something with their house.
You could be the main guy. It sounds like you already are, but you could be like get a ton of rentals, be the the face of that place. So keep it going.
Yeah, that's my. It's better to be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. And so some of these big markets, they're so competitive. And here's the thing too: if you target those outer markets, right, the rural neighborhoods around the metros, what I found is your marketing budgets are going to be way cheaper, especially if you're doing like PPC, because less people are targeting there. And your cash buyers and flippers and everybody, they'll go an hour away. If you bring a good deal, like let's say you want to wholesale and you're an hour away from where all the flippers are, targeting and doing deals, but you bring them a deal an hour away in some rural area, they'll go out there and they'll do that deal. They'll want that deal. They don't care, right? They're looking for deals. And so it just kind of creates a really unique opportunity. So I totally agree with that. That's a great tip, Nathan. So yeah, really proud of you. Really excited for you. I love that you've been able to quit your job. You're growing business. I love you're thinking outside the box. Keep building those relationships. Keep growing the business, and just super excited for you. You're a flipping genius. Keep it up.